Thank you guys for joining us. This is Dan's. I'm Jose. Interesting enough, we are both business owners as well. So we're hoping that this will help promote our business and also invite other business owners to join us on our podcast.
Cool, man. Well, we can jump right into one of the topics. The biggest topic we've seen this week is actually, you guessed it, Kanye West.
Mr. Yeezy himself. He actually just got dropped by Adidas and also Balenciaga. Which totaled to be about a $2,000 contract that he is now out of. Which
$2,000?
$2 billion.
Billion with a B.
With a B.
Damn. You know how much $2 billion is?
Yeah, so funny enough, Adidas was the last company to drop him. And I think Balenciaga was the first one to drop him.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the reason why Adidas was hesitant because is about the amount of revenue and like money that Kanye West brings in for Adidas is ridiculous. I mean, Kanye really only gets 15% off of like the sales of Yeezy. So a lot of people are speculating, saying that maybe he did all this, to get out of those contracts and then maybe try to secure his own contracts with like, a better percentage.
That's true. That makes a lot of sense. But I mean, what they say is 50% of a watermelon is better than 100% of a grape. So do you think that Kanye is going to make as much profit as he did when he was with Adidas? Or do you think that he's going to get smaller sales or lesser sales because he's private, he doesn't have that big name behind him?
I mean, personally, okay, let's look at the facts. He already went into Skechers. You could have popped that open, Norm.
He already popped it open.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
Go ahead. So, first of all, let's look at the facts. Kanye already tried to barge into Skechers, after he got dropped by Adidas, and maybe I don't know what he was trying to do, but he went straight to the headquarters, maybe tried to talk to the CEO, and they straight just kicked him out, bro. They want no association with him. They want nothing to do with him. And I mean, it's mostly because of the things that he's been saying. So what have you heard? What have we?
Honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I really don't keep up with any sort of, news kind of. I just kind of get what my friends regurgitate to me, and then I kind of take off that. So the Yeezy thing was big, though. It was big enough for me to kind of catch ears on. So I did hear about him walking in Skechers. I believe he got escorted out. But I know that he got dropped as far as that goes. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I got some black and red Yeezys. One of my companies that I work with actually sent them to me as a gift. So the only pair that I have, I did not buy because, man, they make me look funny. I don't know. That's just me. But I'm not a fan of the Yeezys, so I don't really keep up with them. There are people that love the style. I mean, they got color coordinations and even the slides, all that stuff. It's a big hype. So,
look, here's okay. First of all, okay, I'm going to make a couple points here, but first let me just make my first point. The fact that, a couple years ago, he was saying, that slavery was a choice. He was saying a lot of things about, like, I guess, black African-Americans, black people. And, he didn't have any records or any deals that, like, fell through or anything like that. But now that he was saying, like, some anti-Semitic comments and stuff like that, do you notice how quickly things shifted in that? A lot of people are like, making comments on that.
Yeah, of course.
And then he actually goes on camera to say like, the fact that I got dropped for making comments against, like Jews and stuff. Look how quickly look how quickly they dropped me. That only proves the point that I was saying, that they govern the world and the media and everything else.
Yeah, it's selective choosing too, because they get to pick and choose why you get canceled. Even like the Kevin Hart thing from a long time ago, he got canceled. They tried to cancel him for things he said years ago. He apologized about. So I think it's just whenever it's convenient for, it could be a select group. It could be, it could be government. We could dive into conspiracies. It could be influencers. It could be Hollywood, anywhere. When they pick and choose, hey, we don't want to associate with this person. I think that's grounds enough to find a reason to cancel him. That's when things start happening. The only interview I really saw was when he was talking about my people. As in my people, he was talking about just people in general. And I think I saw a little bit of that. And then he was talking about how people choose to follow, influencers and money and fame and cars and, other people's women, whatever he was talking about, but they don't choose to kind of follow their own path. So, I mean, that really resonated with me. I said, you're right. If you do listen to rap nowadays, it's all about other people's women, money, cars, clothes. It's all about the same thing that rap's always been about. But I think people drown themselves in that idea to the point where that's all people care about now.
A lot of people were saying, I don't think he said anything wrong. I don't think that he said anything outlandish. Basically some of the things he was saying is that they run, that a lot of the owners of banks are Jewish. Okay. He's saying a lot of people that own the media are Jewish, and he's saying that, Jewish people own Hollywood as well, right?
Okay.
So he was saying things like that, right? And on the surface, it doesn't sound like it's bad, but the problem is like when you look back at history, like around the 1940s, like when there was like propaganda against the Jews right before, you know, the concentration camps, before Hitler came to rise. Years before that, there were already propaganda saying like they run the banks, they run the world, you know, that Jews own all the money in the world, you know. Yeah. So like if you weren't specifically Jewish, you know, Jewish descent, maybe you wouldn't think that those were offensive terms. But if you are Jewish, you're gonna see that stuff and be like, oh, hold up, this is the same thing that was being propagated in the 1940s. So it causes red flags for certain people. You know
that
what
makes
I'm
a lot
saying?
of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, on the surface, maybe it doesn't look like much to some people, but I can definitely see how, you know, in certain cultures and stuff like that, this could definitely be an attack or like a setup. Or, I mean, you know what I mean? Maybe they do run the world and now they already cut off EA like that quickly, you know what I mean? In a matter of weeks.
Here's my question. Is there or can there be statistics or facts that prove that Jewish people do run these things that he mentioned, banks, you know, Hollywood? Even if you found one bank, Bank of America or Wells Fargo or even something smaller.
So
you know.
Funny enough, I was actually going to Google search, you know, the biggest banks and see who were the owners, okay. But I was running hella late today. So Big Nerm, can you look up who runs Bank of America, JP Morgan, Chase, and even the Truett Bank that came out? Do you mind looking that up real quick, Big Nerm?
Yeah, we got Big Nerm in the back, guys. Big Nerm is actually one of our good friends. He's here just kind of just running facts on us, you know, just things of that nature. So here you go, boss man.
So I actually heard, okay, so on the same subject, I actually did hear that Jewish people did help develop Hollywood in a lot of ways. And they did it in kind of more of a subtle way where they were developing the suits and the costumes because they were really good at like sewing, you know what I mean, and tailoring and stuff like that. So they were making very specific costumes and dresses and stuff like that for Hollywood films in the very early days. And that like those same people that I guess started off in that industry still are running it today. No, I haven't looked into the extent of like how deep they are involved in like the film industry and like creating movies and things like that. But I'd be curious. Maybe that's something we could look into.
Here's something I just thought about. What if he didn't mean literally owns? What if he meant like they own a majority of influence in these industries? Because like you said, the people that are making the wardrobe and all that, let's say wardrobe makeup, what if there's enough of them that are Jewish that do have a say in like how to influence a film or how to influence a music video? And not a sense of like they own physical property in Hollywood, but they own the influence of Hollywood. I mean, was that something that you would take a look at?
Damn, that's actually
it's like more of a metaphorical, like we own, you know? I don't know. That's something to think about.
Yeah, that would be something to think about. I mean, my biggest issue. All right, Big Nerd, what did you find?
What I'm specifically searching.
Who's like the owners of like Bank of America, Chevy Chase? What's another big bank? Wells Fargo's. Yeah.
Who owns major banks? And then I'm sure you'll get a list of names or people, and then we dive into that deep.
So here's my biggest issue. Like whether he said something right or wrong, you know, there's opinions on that. A lot of people are saying, you know, a lot of things he said were very insensitive, if not racist, right? Now, my biggest thing is like the fact. Okay, I understand if he was like canceled or whatever, but like my biggest problem is the fact that they're able to freeze an individual's bank's accounts. So now suddenly he doesn't really have, you know, he's not as liquid, you know what I mean? Like he can't really transfer cash from one account to another, or if he wanted to make a big purchase. Number two, like he's heavy on Twitter, right? So Twitter, immediately off of Twitter, immediately off of Facebook, immediately off of Instagram. So like the fact that you can go from being one of the most influential, you know, considered like geniuses of your generation, you know, to like suddenly having absolutely no voice, you know, that kind of scares me. Mostly because of the fact that it just kind of shows like the direction that we're kind of moving in, you know, like the censorship. And a lot of people will say, oh, what about the freedom of speech and stuff? But you also have to understand that these like huge, ginormous like social media companies, they're not, you know, you have the freedom of speech, which means you can say what you want. But at the same time, like that's these, I guess, social media companies aren't really, they're private owned companies, so they can censor what they want and don't want to be said on their platforms, which kind of sucks because everyone's on them.
What's crazy to hear is Twitter removed him because, you know, there's people that have been blackballed, quote unquote, and there's people like Donald Trump who was removed from social medias. But then everyone always talks about how Twitter is going to always be tried and true, like uncensored, basically. Right. You know, you can't have adult images on Instagram or Facebook, but Twitter, you could put God knows whatever you want on there. So it's crazy to hear that they've made the step, basically, they've made the step to cancel or to remove Kanye when it's like, dude, you guys have all this crazy stuff. I mean, you could be hella racist on there, like straight up. Blatantly racist. You could be anti-religion. You could be demonic. You're a Satanist, whatever it could be, and you could still have a Twitter. To circle back on what we were talking about, it's crazy. I'm looking up on here, and there's actually, I'm not gonna put their names out there, but there has been models and even politicians that speak about how the Jews own the banks, they own the media, in our politics they're heavy. Who's awake yet? So there have been people that have made these exact same comments. It's actually a very common conversation about the Jews owning finance and the Jews owning certain things. So it blows my mind that they took Kanye West, of all people, to say something, for people to say, you know what, we're just going to cancel him for it. I mean, there have been countless people, I'm sure, that have the same conversation on all kinds of podcasts, and they just, either they're not big enough or they just don't care enough to chase them down. But I guess Kanye's name is big enough to want to slaughter, basically,
Yeah, I get that. And I also understand that Kanye, he talks about, let's just call it mental disorders. I'm not going to say specifics because I'm not 100% sure what they are, like bipolarism and things like that. And I feel like he definitely goes on these manic episodes and stuff like that. And it's usually around the time that he's releasing something or something is dropping, you know what I mean? But I don't think he's dropping anything this time, man. And I don't know. I used to think that it was all staged, but I'm getting to the point now where I'm like wondering if like Ye is like getting like, extremely mentally unstable.
You think it's like fake it till you make it, kind of?
I don't know.
Like it's worked for him, so he's trying it to a point where now he doesn't know where the line is, to where like, hey, this is what time I need to act this way, and this is what time I need to stop. He's just kind of acting this way now.
I seems like a manic episode. At least this last one seems like it, bro. Like,
do you think this big one? Do you think it could be fame? Do you think fame could be overwhelming?
I think fame can be
because Kanye, growing up, to me, Kanye was, I didn't say she a gold digger. He was the chipmunk, all that stuff. I don't really listen to him a whole lot, but his time was real cool. He was the rapper, and I think as time progresses, now there's a lot more. More popularity or more exposure. So now he's not just a rapper that's making albums. Now he's an influencer. Now he's a family man. He married, Kim Kardashian. So his name is in a lot of places, and his exposure is everywhere. So maybe it's to a caliber where it's almost too much for him, and he doesn't know how to handle to be at this level of fame. Because fame can be damning. Fame can be very dangerous if people don't know how to handle that. I mean, it's crazy. What do you think? Do you think that fame has anything to do with this?
I definitely does. I mean, if you look at the old, I've seen the documentary Genius. I mean, if you look at Kanye, in the early days, like he seems like a completely different man than he is today. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And obviously, like when you live your whole entire life, or not your whole entire life, but when you live like a good part of your life in the spotlight, and like almost everything you do becomes publicity. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure it definitely does something to your head. It does something to your ego. You know what I mean? Yeah. I actually, was in the same building as Kanye, and some people that I was working with saw Kanye and tried to take a picture of Kanye, and he basically just told him to fuck off, and I think he was within his rights, but I'm just saying, like, that was kind of a tangent, but I think fame definitely has affected, and I feel like it would affect me too, like if I was famous and rich and I knew everybody knew who I was, what I mean? I feel like it would definitely get to my head, add a little bit of, mental disorder to that, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that, it's a perfect recipe for acting out on everything.
Yeah, fame can be crazy. I think fame is one of those things people try to fill a void with, and it's a void that can't be filled. I was watching this show called Cabinets of Curiosity. It's by Guillermo del Toro, and in one of the episodes, a guy goes, I think I'm chasing all of this to fill a void, and the void just keeps eating everything I'm getting. So do you think that he's now on a path of like nothing is just enough for him anymore?
Only Jesus at this point,
bro. Do you see my whole point with that is even now he's even turned to Jesus. So now he's even turned to a faith or a religion. And maybe that's not even enough for him. And then what happens? What do you consume after you can't consume anything else? I think that's the problem. Maybe he's gone so far ahead that now he's got to backtrack to feel something,
It sounds like some Squid Game shit here, bro.
It's crazy. It's like, yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up, man.
All right, cool. I'm going to tell y'all something. Go to the casino, bet on 2. 100%. You'll thank me later.
Yeah. We're gonna share some casino stories. Also talk about how my man literally lost his wallet one day before he had to travel international.
I found it though. Thank God. God is real.
Yeah, but the story, it was terrible. All right, thank you guys for joining us on our very first episode of Off Topic.
Thank you guys. Thank Big Nerm. He's our Google guy. Don't worry, we're not firing him. Yeah. Couple things we do want to talk to you guys about. It's just this journey with this podcast is going to be awesome. We do want to turn this into something where we could talk about multiple subjects. in one sit down. And then my man Joe's here is a master with technology, so he can piece it up, chop it up, make it look however we want. He'll probably make me look a little bit taller in these podcasts. So we want you guys to join us. It's not just like a single, like, oh, we're gonna talk about one thing all day. We're gonna mix it up. You guys comment what you guys want to hear about, crazy stories, cool stories, something interesting, something random. You know, we're here for it. Let's talk about it.
Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next episode of Off Topic.